Hey, so I'd like to cover the XLV ETF, which is healthcare. You're going to see kind of an accelerated video, only because something happened with the first recording. So you're just going to kind of see more or less the summary of that uh, initial video. So if anything, that should save us some time. Uh, so I guess just to give us kind of the headlines, because again, this is already updated material, but where it was before is this date was about 5:30. The price was about 126. The buy points actually stayed the same. Resistance points stayed the same. And our note here, all we did was add in some dates just for reference points. Uh, but before the note just said long-term uptrend, and it continues to accelerate. And now we just added in some dates just for reference. So I looked into it. I didn't really see any news. So if you found anything, by all means, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to read that. Staying informed with this would be great. Uh, Otherwise, we're just going to go into the technicals for this one. And yeah, so if you have any questions or want to throw out your point of view, want to share what you're seeing from your end, by all means, you can do that in the comments. But with that said, let's just look into uh, this one. So, like I said, last time we looked at this was during this green bar down here. So we'll zoom in. Uh, 5:30 was this week. Each one of these bars is a week. So 126 was right around here. Ever since then, it's just gone up, and currently it's at 132. So the first couple things that I'm seeing on my end is number one, we're giving a decent amount of weight to this uptrend channel, which is the yellow lines here. So if we zoom out, this is one of those reference points that I was talking about in 2020. It seems like it found a new kind of bottoming for this one, which is the bottom line of that uptrend channel, and found peaks which seem to come out to here, which is the top of that yellow uptrend channel. Yes, I realized I could bring it up higher and catch some of these high points, but it seems like this is more conservative, I would say. This, of course, can evolve over time, but so we're giving a significant amount of weight into that uptrend channel, which again started in 2020. And if we zoom out further, we can see these purple uptrend channels, which it's nothing new to see it accelerate like this. So here was that other point that we noted in 2009. That's when this first uptrend channel happened. Then we noticed it seemed to have found a new bottom of the trend, which kind of picked it up. And then we saw this type of acceleration or uptrend. And then, of course, in 2020, now we're in this yellow trend, which still goes upward and it's accelerating even faster, which, of course, is nice as an investor to see that. And then we also are giving some thought to what it's been doing most recently, which has been trading sideways from about July of 2021. It's kind of been in this range that I would say primarily revolves around 125 to 138. Uh, Honestly, we could probably shrink that even to a smaller gap because truly the majority is between about 125 and 132 with little peaks above and a couple dips below. But ultimately, that's been the range that we're in. And I think what happened is during this first maybe like 6 months, close to a year, once I think it was just being overbought. It was outside of our uptrend channel, and it was just reaching these new all-time highs, and that's why it pulled back within our range. And now it's kind of gradually building up again, and it just by nature it kind of appears sideways. And so that's just something we're keeping in mind. The green seemed to be a strong support line where it dipped below a few times, but ultimately anytime it dipped below that 125, that green mark, within a week, it looks like worst case right here was about a month it took, where it dipped below, came right back within a month, and yet it still kind of stayed within our uptrend channel. So it's almost like acceptable, at least from my perspective. Then we have this blue line here, which kind of acts as resistance. It's more so resistance, I would say, because we have, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, we could argue 4, and then 5. 5 points, all within the past, what, about 2-ish years? Maybe a year and a half, where it just stalls out at about 132, and that's where it is today. But we'll break down why I think it's either a buy or maybe hold off from buying within a minute. But yeah, so 132, it seems like that's where it kind of stalls out. Yes, it's gone above that point, similarly to that 125 mark. Anytime it's accelerated past 132, within about a month, it pulls back. And we can see that here's 1, 2, 3, and then most recently 4, back just 2 months ago. 4 instances where it's actually gone above and pulled right back within a month. More recently, maybe like 2 months, month and a half. And so here we are again at that point. I think what's very reasonable to believe is that this one might kind of stall out for a week or two. But I think that uptrend channel is going to be the overriding factor, where that it just is going to continue to build up and just cruise past 132 without really giving it much thought. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I think worst case scenario would be, yeah, this one breaks trend for a week or two, pulls back to 125 while it's still within reasonable striking distance, and then it should pop up again within a week or two back into this uptrend channel, and then I think that's when it just continues forward. That's, of course, that would be like the ideal scenario, is if it would pull back to like 125, scoop up another share or two, and then watch it push back up forward. I don't really think it'll fall that far, but I think what's possible is it might hover around 132 for a week or two, and then it'll just continue upwards, and before we know it, it's going to reach all-time highs again by the end of the year. I think is very reasonable that it could reach new all-time highs. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this one. Let's just do a quick summary of this, because again, I've updated this already. So yeah, currently it's at 132. I have buy points marked at 125 and 130. 125 is more so the ideal buy point. 130 being the very bottom of that uptrend channel. It being at 132, it's near the bottom of that. So I think I'm personally okay with picking up a share or two of this, depending on your budget or whatever you're comfortable with. Just saying what I would be doing or what I am going to be doing. Resistance seems at 138, so a little bit of cushion. Very narrow window here. I will point that out. Of course, we updated the date, and then we also noted earlier how it's been in this long-term uptrend since 2009, and it continues to accelerate. Most recently in 2020, that's when we saw the next kind of uptick. The one other thing, I'm not sure if I've updated this, but XLV, we're looking at the concentrations for this one. So we just started this for this ETF, but these are the top 10 holdings in that company or that ETF. Top 10 holdings make up half of this. We don't currently follow any of these, so potentially what's going to happen in the future is we're going to probably pull out one or two stocks that we're currently following, and we'll add in one or two of these because again, if the ETF, if we're noting the ETF is at a buy point period, that most likely means a couple of these stocks are also at buy points. And of course, that means more risk, but it also means more reward. It's just something that we're going to probably pick up. And the ones that we've highlighted in orange are probably the most likely favorites. We have United Health Group, mainly because it's the #1 spot. Johnson & Johnson because it's the #2 spot. Both of those making up, United's making up 9.5%, Johnson & Johnson 8.5%. So those are the top two. And then I picked one just a little bit further down, but clearly a more dominant position, I guess, being at 4%. It's in the top 10. That's why I'm saying it's in a dominant position. But Pfizer, yeah, I've heard of them. I think many people have, so I think it'd be one that I'd be interested in following. Has, of course, things could change over time, but just wanted to share that. So we'll continue to track that, see if that updates over time. But that pretty much wraps this up. I will probably pick up a share or two on Monday or Tuesday. I'll have to add a reminder to make sure I pick some of this up. But yeah, that wraps it up. So please like, subscribe, and if you want to ask any questions, let me know in the comments. But that's it. So